Hello, it's me, Miss Nicole or Nicole, on whichever you prefer to call me, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Adventure Fiction Club. So this one, we are going to be doing Lost at Sea. Can You Survive by the You Choose ones. It does have this little pink card in it. That means it's an interlibrary loan. So if you're interested in exploring the other endings that we don't get to, you can check this out. And if this is your first time and you're not sure what we're doing, this is not a book that we read cover to cover. We read to a certain point and then we have to make a choice. And since you're not here to help me make those choices, I'm going to use this. So if we roll a 1, 3, and 5, we'll go with the top choice. If we roll a 3, 2, 4, and 6, we'll go with the bottom choice. So let's get started. Can you survive being lost at sea? About your adventure. You are sailing on the ocean when something suddenly goes wrong. You are at the mercy of storms, dehydration, and sharks. How will you stay alive? In this book, you'll deal with extreme survival situations. You'll explore how the knowledge you have and the choices you make can mean the difference between life and death. Chapter 1 sets the scene. Then you choose which path to read. Follow the directions at the bottom of each page. The choices will change your outcome. After you finish one path, go back and read the others for new perspectives and adventures. You choose the path to take you through your adventure. Chapter 1, Danger at Sea. It happens in a blink, a freak wave, an unexpected accident, a fast-moving storm. Suddenly, a pleasant day on the ocean turns into a nightmare of survival. Of all the places in the world to be lost, the sea is the worst. At sea, there is no food, water, or shelter of any kind, other than what you manage to have with you. You're exposed to extreme heat and cold, as well as storms, waves, and wind. Most people who die at sea don't drown. They die of starvation, dehydration, or hypothermia. It seems odd that you could die of thirst in a huge ocean of water. Ocean water is about 3 times saltier than your blood. That makes it impossible for your body to process safely. A few swallows of salt water make you feel sick and vomit. More than that, it will cause seizures, brain damage, hallucinations, and death. Finding fresh water is necessary for survival. The second most important thing after finding fresh water is protection from the elements. The heat from the sun, the ocean winds will dehydrate you and make your skin burn, blister, and crack. Extra clothing, plastic tarps, rubber mats, life jackets, rugs, or even seaweed can help shield you. A big problem for anyone lost at sea is hypothermia, which occurs when your core body temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. You will lose the most heat through your hands. You lose the most heat through your head, arms, legs, and groin. The best way to avoid hypothermia is to get out of the water. Water and shelter will keep you alive for a few days, but after that, you'll need to find food. Anything edible will keep you alive, including fish, birds, and seaweed. But not all sea creatures are safe to eat. Pufferfish and jellyfish can be deadly. It's important to know which fish you can keep you alive and which fish will poison you. Even if the odds are in your favor, it's your will to live to the end. Let me start that sentence again. Even if the odds are in your favor, it's your will to live that will end up deciding your fate. If you have that, along with clear thinking and skill, it's likely you'll survive being lost at sea. So now it actually starts us off with 3 different paths. We are going to either be downed in a small aircraft at sea, to be adrift in a sailboat with a small crew in the Caribbean, to be lost at sea alone in the Atlantic coast. So we're going to roll and see if we're going to choose between the top 2 or bottom 2 choices. All right, so I got a 5, so we're going to choose between the top 2 choices, which is down small aircraft or being adrift in a sailboat with a small crew. We got a 3, so we are going to choose the top choice. So we're going to be down in a small aircraft at sea. Crash landing. You walk across the small airport tarmac and take a look back at the evening sunset. You spent the summer hiking, swimming, and relaxing with your family on this remote Canadian island. It's time for you to get back to school on the mainland, so you're leaving a few days early. A small 10-seater airplane quickly fills up with other vacationers on their way home. You stash your backpack under the seat, strap on your seatbelt, and settle in. There's a sign overhead that says everyone must put a life jacket on. No one else has one on, so you don't bother. You doze off, barely feeling the plane taxi out of the runway and lift off to the sky. A shaking sensation wakes you. You're horrified to realize the pain that is the plane that's shaking. Your heart hammers in your chest, but you try to stay calm. Miles of ocean stretch below, and with no land in sight. The engine makes a loud coughing sound as the plane continues to drop. The water is getting closer. You hear the pilot, Sam, over the intercom. We're going to hit, folks. Brace yourselves. You put your head between your knees, grasping your legs with your arms. Everyone else does the same. The plane engine whines loudly, and then you hear a loud explosion. Something hits the back of your head, knocking you unconscious. You wake up a few minutes later. The plane is in the ocean, broken into sections. The part you're in is sinking fast. Your head is throbbing from the injury. Sputtering as you swallow the cold water, you flip the seatbelt buckle and swim free. Then you remember your backpack. There's a bottle of water, some trail mix, your wallet, and a wad of dirty clothes inside. So now we have a decision to make. Are we going to look for the backpack or leave it behind and swim away from the wreckage? Let's see. We received the 2, so we're going to leave it behind and swim away from the wreckage. You don't want to be near the plane when it sinks. You could be tangled in debris and pulled under. Slowly you swim out into the sea. You bump into something in the water. It's your backpack. A seat cushion is tangled in its straps. You slide the backpack over your arms and grab the cushion to your chest. Then you pull your legs up. This position is called the heat escaping lessening posture, or HELP for short. But you can't hold that position for long. You stretch out in the water with your cushions tucked under your chin. And before I show, this is the position they're describing. You have no idea how long you've been in the water, but you probably know more than an hour. You're lightheaded from the head injury. All the seawater you swallow comes up in a wave of nausea. It's hard to think clearly. Becoming disoriented and having hallucinations are symptoms of hypothermia, but you don't feel cold yet, but it's still summer. Besides, it's still summer. You feel sleepy, but you shake this off. Take yourself awake. You need to move to warm your muscles. From somewhere, you remember the moving is bad because it uses more body heat than being still. But you're confused right now. That doesn't seem right. So are we going to remain still, or are we going to keep moving? We rolled a 4, which is even number, so we're going to go with the bottom choice. So we're going to keep moving. It's hard to concentrate. If you're in a state of confusion, you decide that it's foolish to stay in one place. Quickly, you toss your backpack away and kick off your shoes and pants and jacket. The water seems even warmer now that you're free of all those clothes. From across the dark water, you hear laughter and see lights. It must be a party on the plane, and they started without you. I'm coming, you shout, and you start swimming. But the sounds keep moving around, and it's confusing. You swim one way, then another, but the water is choppy, and you don't seem to get any closer to the party. It's a lot easier to swim underwater, you realize, happily. If you dive under, the waves will carry you right to the party. Without another thought, that's exactly what you do. You don't realize that you'll never get back to the surface again. So that wasn't a good choice. So let's go back and see what happens if we decide that we're going to remain still instead of moving around. Slowly, painfully, you pull your knees back into your chest and float upright. You fight to stay conscious, but your thoughts are jumbled and you don't make any sense. You remember a grizzly bear you saw on vacation. Suddenly, there it is in the water in front of you. Are you okay? The bear says. Then the bear starts shaking you hard. You take a swing at it, and then a fog lifts in your mind. The bear turns into a man hanging onto a large piece of debris. I guess not, you repeatedly reply shakily. I thought you were a bear. The man chokes out of laughter. Hypothermia. We'll need to get you out the water. The man tells you his name is Bill. He swims behind you and helps you scramble onto a piece of debris. The air feels freezing, but you know it's warmer than water. You lie there, teeth chattering, until you notice a flashing light not too far away. At first you think it's another hallucination. Then it flashes again, In the brief flash of light, you see a large rubber raft inching toward you. Help! Help! You and Bill cry. Strong hands lift you out of the water. You are wrapped in something dry and warm. Someone presses a plastic water bottle onto your lips. You drink thirstily. Then someone opens your mouth and presses a pill to your tongue. For seasickness, a voice you recognize says, "Let it dissolve." It's Sam, the pilot. "I'm glad to see you," you say. "Good to see you too," Sam replies, examining your head wound. "I don't think this is too bad," he says, popping open a first aid kit. He wipes away the caked blood with an antiseptic pad. "Now, you're out of the water and hydrated. You're feeling much better?" Bill and his 2 other survivors huddle on blankets in the raft. You and Sam, that makes 5 survivors. 6 are still missing. We found 5 who didn't make it, Sam says. There's only 1 more. After you strap on a life jacket, Sam hands you the flashlight. Together, you sweep the ocean debris looking at other passengers. Your flashlight moves over a bit bright fabric. A jacket? There's someone in it. Here! There, you say. The figure lifts her head weakly. She's floating, you yell. The woman is doing dead man's float to conserve her energy. Sam throws the life preserver, which is attached to a rope, into the water. The woman tries to grab the preserver, but she can't move her arms well. She tries again and misses. A wave pushes her farther. "I'll go get it," you say, jumping in the water before Sam can protest. So are we going to grab the life preserver first, or are we going to try to just swim to that woman? 2. So we are going to just try to swim to her. The woman is live, but not moving. You unclip your life jacket and try to put it on her, but she's heavy and the waves are too strong. Finally, you tie it around her chest. And as you drag her back to the raft, she revives and begins screaming. Panicked, she grabs you around the neck, pounding your wounded head. The force from the blows knock you out, and you sink under the dark waves. The end. Well, I had so much hope for us. All right, let's get the life preserver first, because I just want an ending that we survive. Okay, let's try that. As you swim towards the woman, you grab the rope that's attached to the life preserver and follow it out. When you get to the woman, she's not moving. "Grab the life preserver," you say, pushing it to lift her. She lifts one arm and then lets it fall weakly back into the water. "You can do this," you shout. "Don't die here." Being careful to not get too close, you put your hands on the life preserver. She revives and clutches it to her chest as a tight grip. "That's it," you say. "Hang on, and we'll be in the raft in no time." Sam pulls you both in, and you immediately wrap your blanket and give her water. "Thanks," the woman says. "I'm Emma. I'd like to tell you everything that's going to be okay, but you're not sure that's true." When Emma is comfortable, you approach Sam. "Is help coming?" you ask quietly. "I hope so," he says. "We're off the course when the planes crash, so it might be a few hours. When it's light, we need to take inventory of supplies and build an anchor so we don't drift." Curling up under a blanket, you try to get some sleep. The rising sun wakes you. You're terribly thirsty and still nauseous, but alive so far. Now, I rolled too much, so my dice flew, so I'll be right back. Okay. So are we going to inventory the supplies, or we're going to build an anchor? We have a 3, and so we're going to inventory the supplies. You take note of everything in the raft. There's a small pile of salvaged stuff, including a few seat cushions, clothing, a small cooler, a couple of plastic jugs, and a broken mirror. The cooler contains several soggy sandwiches, a few cans of soda, some water, a jar of olives. You give Sam a jug of ocean water for the anchor. You show him what's in your backpack. The extra clothing would be good for protection, he says. The raft kit contains a plastic tarp, emergency rations, 3 gallons of fresh water, the thermal blankets that Sam gave out, and a 2-way radio. You get excited to find a radio, but Sam shakes his head. "Not working. The crash must have broken it. I'm sure you will be rescued in the next 24 hours, but we should figure out the rations for the week. Even the water and trail mix from your backpack, there isn't enough for 6 people." "Don't worry, it'll keep us alive," Sam says. "A person can survive with only 4 ounces of water a day. It won't be fun, though." By now, the sun is high in the sky. The other passengers are stirring. Together, you and Sam divide the rations so that Everyone will have food and water on 7 days. Then you pass out the day's rations to everyone. Don't drink your water ration today if you can help it. Right now, we have plenty of water in our systems. We'll need water later in case he doesn't finish the sentence. The days get hot, so you all rig up a plastic tarp over the heads that shield you from the sun. The sea is rough, and the raft plunges and dips in the water. It's exhausting to hang on to keep from being flung overboard. The saltwater sprays dries out your skin, despite the tarp, and the heat is relentless. You expect rescue at any moment, but evening comes and you're still drifting. You never felt so hungry and thirsty in your life. From expressions on the people's faces, they feel the same way. Come on, Sam, says Bill. The rescuers have to be on their way. Let's have the rest of the food and water. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be rescued soon, says another man. Mike, Sam is uncomfortable. It's not a good idea. Let's have them, Mike said in a menacing tone. Sam looks hard at the two men, and they suddenly passes out everyone's rations. They gobble and gulp hungrily, but you hesitate. Are we going to eat your rations at once or save your food? I'm going to get my die again. All right, we got a 2. Whew, to save your food and water ration. It takes all your willpower to eat only one ration and stash the rest in your backpack. When no one is looking, you hide your backpack behind the seat cushions. Sam sees you and nods in agreement. The next afternoon, everyone is desperately thirsty. Emma, the woman you rescue, wants to drink seawater. You and the others talk her out of it. Let's use the tarp to try to catch the condensed dew overnight. You tied the tarp corners to the raft and weigh it down in the center of the jug of plastic seawater. Then you position the cooler underneath the tarp, below the jug. Your hope is that dew will run down the sides of the tarp and drip into the cooler. There isn't any water in the cooler the next morning. Now, no one can stop Emma. She takes a few gulps of seawater. Over the next few hours, other passengers join her. You want to drink salt water so badly that you sit on your hands and bite your cracked lips to stop yourself. Sam puts your hands on your shoulders and smiles encouragingly. It doesn't take long for everyone to start vomiting. They're not paying attention to you, so you quietly eat a mouthful of food. Sam does the same. You curl into a ball and try to sleep, ignoring the moaning and vomiting. When you wake up in the morning, the raft is bobbing slightly on the water. Then you realize the raft is empty except for you and Sam. Frantically, you rush to the sides of the raft. They're all gone, Sam says. The hallucinations from the cold and drinking salt water got them. Bill jumped first, then everyone else tried to save him. You bob your head, filled with despair. You know that Sam and you can't survive much longer out here. Just then, you see something in the sky. Could it be? Yes, it's a helicopter. Look, you shout, grabbing a piece of broken mirror. Then you angle it so that it flashes in the sunlight. Sam grabs the tarp and waves it all with all the strength he has left. The helicopter turns and heads towards you. You can't believe your terrible ordeal is over. The end. Okay, so now we're going to go to the end of the book because we finally found an ending that we survived. But there are 24 endings in this book altogether, so you can check it out by having us order it from a different library for you, and then you can read the other endings. So I'm going to skip to the end, read the final chapter, and then we will be over. So you can survive. Water covers 75% of the Earth's surface, but about 70% of that is ocean or seawater. Most people will find themselves traveling on or above the water at some point in their lives. There's always possibility that something might go wrong. Survival depends on your resourcefulness and ability to think and act quickly and rationally. Most deaths at sea come from making bad choices and forgetting how powerful and dangerous the sea can be. The best way to survive is to keep your wits and to think clearly about what you're facing. Making the right decisions in the first minutes when you're stranded in the water can mean the difference between living and dying. Knowing that most people lost at sea die of hypothermia, dehydration, or starvation is vital. Even if you're just on the boat as a passenger, taking a sailing safety class before you go out on the water is a good idea. Then you'll be more prepared and less likely to panic during an emergency. Being clear-headed about your immediate situation will keep you alive. You must be able to judge when you leave a boat in trouble, when it comes safer to ride out in a storm. Get familiar with the boat. Where are the lifeboats and life jackets stored? Can you get to the emergency supplies quickly? Can you radio for help? If the worst happens and you find yourself lost at sea, you must remain calm and focus on staying alive. Is anyone injured? Do you have food and water? Are there dangers nearby, such as shark or coral reefs? Does anyone know where you are? Are you near the land? The faster you understand the dangers you're facing, the better you'll be able to plan for survival. Ultimately, it's your will to live, and that will help you survive being lost at sea. If you focus on staying alive and not giving up, you have a much better chance of living through your ordeal. And so also in the end, it has some brief stories of real shipwreck survivors, a survival quilt, a survivor quiz, and more if you're interested in reading more. So that is it. Can you survive being lost at sea? And I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for spending some time with me. Goodbye.